Yes, YouTube, we are back, and in today's video, what I'm going to do is run through the 5 things that I would tell myself if I had to start over again from day one. Now remember, day one for me, I was skinny fat, didn't really have any sort of gym background, knowledge of training, knowledge of nutrition, didn't really have a load of confidence, and I wasn't in great shape. The advice in this video is the advice that I wish someone would have drilled into me from day one. It would have saved me years and years worth of trial and error, and essentially would have given me better results from day one, from the get-go. So if you're just getting started on your fitness journey or you've been stuck for a little while, then listen up, because this could save you literally years and years worth of time. So tip number 1 is to stop program hopping. I know it can be tough. Sometimes exercises get a little bit boring or a little bit stagnant and you've not seen some progress for a little while. But you need to pick some lifts and you need to stick to them over a consistent period of time. Going back to the start of my journey, I was someone who very much watched a lot of fitness YouTubers, the likes of Mike Thurston, Simeon Panda, people like that. And if I saw them doing an exercise that I hadn't done before, or I was in a position where a few exercises were a little bit boring, I'd think, oh, let me grab that one and let me try that one out. And yes, at the time, it may seem as if that would be the best thing to do because you're doing an exercise, you're not really seeing much for it, but it really does just slow you down. The whole idea with progressive overload, which I'm sure you all know or you're all familiar with, is to just repeat the same lifts, get stronger and stronger over time, which in turn will allow you to build muscle. So if I could go all the way back to day one, the first thing I would say is to pick 5 to 7 key compound lifts, stick at them for a long while, aim to perfect the technique, aim to progress them in strength, and that will allow me to build muscle over time. You don't need 20 or 30 different exercises to allow you to build muscle. You also don't need to shock your muscles by throwing in different exercises here and there. What you need to do is pick a group of lifts, perfect them, pick some lifts that you like. The lifts don't have to be perfect. You see all these lifts online where it's taking you 10 minutes to set up a bench and get it to the right angle and get your cable in the right sort of line. It's not really massively necessary. Pick some lifts that you like, that you have seen are effective, for example, dumbbell presses, squats, all of the meat and potatoes exercises. Pick ones that you like, stick to them for a while, master them, progressively overload them with weight, reps, or by improving your form, and I can guarantee you will see some good progress and you'll actually build some muscle. If I would have been told this information at the start and I would have stuck with core key lifts, meat and potatoes exercises that I actually enjoyed, I would have built more muscle in the first 6 months than I did in the first 2 years, because again, I was very much someone who would see something online and hop on the new trend or try this out and try that out. And it just left me in a little bit of a grey area where I didn't really know what lifts I liked. I didn't know which lifts to opt for. But if I would have just stuck true to my guns and stuck to what I picked at the very start, I 100% would have seen more progress. Number 2 is that your diet doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be honest and it does have to be tracked. I was very much someone who thought they were eating healthily near the start of my journey when I started to prep my own food just as I headed off to university. And in reality, I wasn't at all. I wasn't tracking any foods. I didn't know how many calories I was consuming. I was just eating what I thought were healthy foods. I was essentially eating foods that were healthy, but in very limited quantities. Things like pasta, nut butters, granola. I was just guessing with my nutrition. Again, eating what I thought was healthily, but I didn't actually know what I was consuming on a day-to-day basis. So if I could talk to my younger self and project some knowledge onto him that's going to help to speed up his progress, I would say that you need to track your food. Now, this isn't something that's going to have to be done forever and forever. Something that's just done for a long enough period of time to a point where you can eat intuitively, know roughly what's going in your body, and see results from that. So many people argue that tracking your food is so time consuming or it's a massive ball ache. Don't get me wrong, it's a little bit annoying. But after you've been doing it for a couple of weeks, it literally takes 20 seconds to log a meal. You weigh your food out, you scan the barcode, you input the quantity on the app, and that's it, done. Literally within the space of 10, 15 seconds. And going from guessing to actually tracking, it opens up your eyes as to what foods are surprisingly high in calories. And I can guarantee, if some of you are trying to lose some weight or you're trying to drop a little bit of body fat and you aren't tracking your food, I can guarantee you've got some foods that are extremely high in calories that are coming from somewhere that you aren't simply aware of. Whether that's from cooking with oils, full-fat Greek yogurt, milk in your coffees or milk in your teas. All of these different things add up and they can easily drag you out of a massive deficit into maintenance or potentially even a surplus. And this all comes down to not needing to be perfect with your diet. You just need to be aware of what you're consuming and how much you're consuming. And if you can become aware of that, it makes it so much easier to actually work towards your goals effectively from a nutrition standpoint. The moment I actually started to log my food, I realized that I was undereating on protein, overeating on fats, and I was also overeating on carbs too, with also no consistency. Once that changed and I started to be more proactive with tracking and I actually realized what was going into my body, my results started to change and I actually started to get into decent shape. Now, I'm sure you've heard this phrase thrown around on Instagram or on social media, but I am a massive proponent for the quality of your physique is shaped from the quality of the food that you put into your body. If you eat shit food, you're going to have a shit physique. If you eat clean, healthy food, you are going to have a good physique. Now, that's not to say you can't build a good physique from dirty bulking, so to speak. You're just going to gain a lot of excess fat. So if you're someone who, similar to me, wants to look as good as possible at all times, opting for a clean diet is always going to trump opting for a dirty sort of diet. Tip number 3. Now, this one is massive, and this one rung true with me. Again, someone who very much watched a lot of fitness influencers from a very young age. I thought, if they look like that, if they look like a bodybuilder, they're jacked and they're lean, then I should be following a similar sort of training program to them. And again, this couldn't be further from the truth. Something else that I think is 100% true with training, you need to earn your stripes. What is most effective for a beginner is not most effective for someone who's advanced. When your physique is at a point where you are having to pinpoint certain areas to build muscle in those areas, your training program is obviously going to be different to someone who's just started off and needs to build lots of muscle everywhere. I'm someone who wasted lots of time copying pro bodybuilders, fitness influencers, following a bro split where I'm doing chest on a day, back day, arm day, shoulder day, legs day. And that's just not enough volume for me to get the best results possible from someone who's just started training. If you're not already jacked or you've not already got a decent amount of muscle, you really need to steer clear of isolation days. What you need is frequency. Total frequency is not the aim of the game. You shouldn't be aiming to go in and train chest 5 times per week or legs 6 times per week. 2 to 3 sessions per week consistently for the first couple of years of training is all you need. So depending on what sort of time you've got available to dedicate towards training, either a full body split or an upper lower split would literally be the best starting point for anyone who is just starting off on their fitness journey. My advice to myself would be to train 3 to 4 times per week. Also prioritize recovery, as recovery is where all of the growth occurs. It's where 99% of growth occurs. And again, I was someone who thought more was always better. At university and when I first started training, I trained 5, 6, 7 days per week. Didn't really give my body any time to recover and to actually grow. And I did see good results, but I was putting in a lot of effort. I was dedicating 6 days of my week to getting in shape and making sure that I am bang on plan. The other day in the week, I was going out and doing a little bit of drinking, but that's for a different time. So yeah, I would train 3 to 4 times per week, go into the gym and just aim for quality reps, taking that all the way to failure. I was never aiming for fatigue or to come out feeling sore. Sore is not a byproduct of muscle recovery. Like being sore isn't an indicator that we are going to grow. So your sole focus when you go into train should just be to get as much stimulus as possible as you can in the target muscle and to take that all the way to failure until you can't complete another rep. Number 4, I've just touched on this one very briefly, but it would be to properly manage stress and recovery. 2 things that are massively overlooked in the fitness industry from people who are just beginning. 2 things that will massively determine the degree of your success and the degree of your results. I thought being in the gym 6, 7 days a week was all I needed to do to get great results, but I was so wrong. If your recovery is off, you're not giving your body a chance to repair, you're not giving your body a chance to grow, so you're constantly in this state of fatigue where progress isn't optimal. And I got to a point where I wondered why I wasn't growing. Like, I was training a lot and I was training quite hard, and I was just stuck in some sort of rut thinking, well, why am I not seeing any progress if I'm doing all of this work? Sleep was poor, stress was quite high, which again are two things that will stop you from progressing if they are way out of whack. If I could go back and tell myself something about sleep and stress, it would be that sleep is where 99% of growth happens. Also, if you are underslept, that's going to carry over into your training session, which means you won't be able to train as hard, which means you won't be able to apply progressive overload as much as if you were fresh, which ultimately means you're not going to make as much progress. I would make it a non-negotiable to get 8 hours of quality sleep every single night. Similar to that, stress management, ensuring that I'm always on top of time management when I'm going to do my work, when I'm going to prep my meals, when I'm going to train. Just that removal of guesswork and having something noted down on my calendar to tell me when I'm going to do certain tasks. That massively helps me to control stress because there's no confusion as to when things are getting done. I've got it crystal clear on my calendar. I know when things are getting done. It just makes the whole process much more smooth. I can't express enough how important a good night's sleep is to optimize performance, to optimize recovery, to ensure that you can actually stick to your diet, to get you the best results possible from the effort that you're putting in. Track your sleep, have a proper wind down routine. Stop doom scrolling on TikTok and Instagram Reels until 1 a.m. That's not doing you any favors. And last but not least, it's the fact that confidence doesn't come from the mirror. This is coming from someone who has been skinny fat, not very confident, not very outgoing. I didn't really like how I looked when I first started training, to now I'm confident, I'm happy with my physique. But I've realized that confidence isn't just purely from vanity and how you look. Confidence from me has come from years and years of discipline and striving towards this goal and trying to be a better person. I thought getting lean and being in good shape would fix all of my problems, but that simply wasn't the case. And this one does go a little bit deeper. Confidence comes from keeping the promises that you make to yourself. When I first started training, my reason why was because I didn't like how I looked. And then I started the journey and I fell in love with the process. And I made a promise to myself to dedicate myself towards this fitness journey to get in the best shape that I possibly can. And since I started training 8 years ago, that's exactly what I've done. I've kept that promise. I've always kept fitness at the forefront of my mind. Now, yes, there have been times where fitness hasn't been my number one priority, like lads' holidays, traveling, things like that. But I always made sure it was near the top of the list. And I always made the conscious effort to be healthy and live a healthy life, and making sure that I was training and eating a semi-healthy diet, whilst of course enjoying some food, but that I was exercising, that I wasn't letting myself go. And it's from building that discipline that has given me the confidence to do everything that I'm doing now. I've got a YouTube channel, I run my own business through Instagram. I've recently done a team meetup where I got my team down to my local gym to do a seminar and to have a group training session. And when I first started training, that was something that I just didn't think was possible. Like, that lad who was shy, reserved, not very outgoing, always kept to himself, would have never dreamed of doing the things that I'm doing now. Even sat in this kitchen right now, I've moved out to Bali for 2 months just on my own. I flew out on my own, I didn't know anyone here. That's something that would scare a lot of people. And the only reason that I'm able to do this, and I'm not sugarcoating it, but this is genuinely what I think is true, is because I dedicated myself to get in better shape. And I have gotten into better shape, but the skills that you learn and that you have to stay progressing towards this goal for such a long period of time, those are the things that help to build that confidence. So, if you're starting out or you've been stuck spinning your wheels for quite a while, I hope this video has helped you. And when I was making this video, I genuinely thought that these 5 key points, if someone would have told me when I first started training, said, if you follow these key points, your results will be incredible, they would have helped me out so much and genuinely would have saved me years and years of trial and error. Just to recap, master the basics, don't chase novelty. Track your nutrition, to be honest, not to be perfect. Train smart, not flashy. Don't try to be someone that you're not. Just focus on yourself, focus on your own journey, and do what is best for you. Prioritize recovery. 8 hours of sleep per night is a non-negotiable, and you need to manage stress where you can. Number 5, which is the most important in my eyes, is confidence is not how you look. Confidence is who you become throughout that journey. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, drop me a sub, drop me a comment which of these you found most valuable.